welcome back. This is hour number 2 for Tampa Home Talk. You got myself, you got Leo, and we have a new guest for the hour, Mr. Vernon Butler. He is with Is It Finished? Good morning. It is finished. Wait, I need to get this right here, Vernon. Correct me now. How do I get this correct?
It is finished.
It is finished. Yes. Not is it finished. It is finished.
It is finished.
It is finished. That's good.
I'm just going to put my mic down and leave now.
Come on now. I had to make sure I have it right. I can't be messing it up all hour.
I know, right?
So tell us about, and see, it's wrong on my outline too. So it is finished.
It is finished. Itisfinishednow.com is the website. But so a lot of
people. So let me start with the obvious question. How'd you come up with that name?
Well, I mean, we don't normally play the Christian card, but that's what we are. We're a Christian-based company, and it is finished is the last words of Christ on the cross.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. I would not have guessed that. So glad that you mentioned it. So tell us a little bit about your company.
I've done flooring my whole life. So that's what, you go to what you're best at. And so I grew up in that. And
how'd you get into flooring?
Well, I got into flooring after a lot of construction. Did a lot of labor. And not to say flooring is not labor, but I decided to start my own business on my own. So about 20-some years ago, we established It Is Finished Now. And then, or It Is Finished. Sorry, we'll make sure we got it correct again. It Is Finished.
See, I'm not the only one messing it up, Leo.
Yeah.
Talking about lay down the mic and leave.
I'm just used to giving the website, itisfinishednow.com. So we went ahead and started with that, and God has blessed it ever since.
So how long have you been in business?
We've been in business nearly over 20 years. We've been in the flooring industry for about 40 years.
So, and what kind of flooring are you doing? Are you doing carpet, tile, vinyl, like everything, or what kind?
Yes, so we do carpet, tile, we remove floor, we install floor, baseboards, anything to do with that leveling. We do a lot of carpet, a lot of the new waterproof vinyls we're doing now. Man,
vinyl has changed a lot over the years.
It certainly has.
Let's talk about that, because I think it gets a bad rap for some people, but I'd love to just chat about, I don't know. And I'll talk about my own experience too. I put some vinyl flooring that I got, and it was supposed to be like water and everything proof. Granted, it was a longer time ago, but it was like scratch resistant. The guy literally took his keys and scratched across it, and it didn't scratch, and it didn't. But it was no match for the dog. So we ended up ripping it out and putting tile again, which was much better. But I think the vinyl has even improved since that time.
Miraculously, yes.
So talk about that.
Exponentially.
Like how and why is it different? And, of course, it's probably more expensive, but let's chat about it. And I can tell the cheap vinyl floors right away when I go on a property. I mean, they stand out.
Yeah, you can. That's the key right there is by quality, of course. So there's some that claim to be 100% waterproof, but they're really only water resistant. It depends on the amount of...
I don't think any of them are 100% waterproof.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, when we first... I'll say this in the beginning. Our name is worth more than your check. Not to sound derogatory, but our name is worth more than your check. So we want to make sure we were selling good products. So we tested it on our own. We cut a piece off, stuck it in a jar of water. It sat there for like 3 months. Finally had to throw the water out because I want to make sure it was a good product. So you want to.
So salespeople are coming in. They're trying to sell their product for you guys to push, and you're like, leave me some stuff. Let me test it, and I'll let you know.
Absolutely. There's some people who just don't make it into our door, and we don't give them space as a display because we're not just going to sell you flooring to be selling you flooring.
They should give us some sample flooring so I can put it through the dog pee test because I still can't get one of my dog's housebroken.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I mean, they had this one little spot that the dogs just like to pee on, and the floor ended up getting ruined there, and I was just so irritated about it. I ripped it all out and put tile.
I could see that. I mean, flooring can be a lot of stress if you don't get the correct flooring for the right application. It certainly can. But the waterproof flooring, it has a lot to do with the wear layers, because you'll hear a lot of, okay, well, it's 5 millimeter, but it's 12 mils. So it sounds like the same. Well, mil is a millimeter to me, but the mils are much, much thinner, and that is your wear layer. So there's the overall thickness would be the millimeters, and then the top wear layer is the mils.
Oh, that's confusing.
It is.
I didn't know that. Did you know that? You probably knew that.
Yeah, there's also paint application have the same thing too.
Yeah. We used to do a lot of sand and finish, and that was another thing about the It Is Finished. We did a lot of high-end homes, sand and finishing floors, and so that was very rewarding but very difficult and hard. So I got out of that side of it. But so when you lay polyurethane and or paint, you end up with mils. So about 3 mils per layer. So that's how you can, paper thin is mils.
Got it. So what are some of the pros and cons as it relates to vinyl flooring? Like for me, I just ripped it out into tile.
Yeah.
So,
well, I could tell you that to me, vinyl is better than tile because you crack a tile, you'll never find another one.
Right.
That's the sad part. Grout lines,
Keeps them
they're
extra, yeah.
terrible to deal with, grout lines. We're doing a lot of high-end homes with vinyl, and again, the pros and cons is that you could do your whole house in the vinyl, whereas some people and it has a nice real wood look. It's what we call embossed and registered, meaning that it has grooves and it follows the actual grain where it's raised. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, but
I have a client right now building a $1.6 million house that had that same conversation with the builder like a week ago.
Yeah, we
exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. We do tons of high-end homes, multi-million-dollar homes.
Well, because they're looking to save costs. So what's the difference between putting that same real wood floor in a 6,000 square foot home compared to the vinyl that you're talking about?
Truthfully, I don't think it is cost because right now vinyls are going through the roof because of the demand for one and getting it here for another.
Supply chain.
Yeah, right.
Increased
Supply and
costs.
demand.
Yep.
So, but we can put you in a wood floor for the price of vinyl right now.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, real wood scratches and mars.
It does.
So that's the downside to that. Leo, I've got a question for you from like your analytical engineering brain point of view. So thinking about like an older bungalow style home, right? Because you live in a 100-year-old home and you've inspected a bazillion of these. If you're looking at replacing your floors, and let's say you're changing the wood floors, or maybe you just don't want to refinish them, and you're looking at putting something over the floors, or maybe you have to rip it all the way down and do repairs. Tile weighs more than vinyl, so is there any issues in terms of weight on that subflooring as opposed to
There's
vinyl?
a lot of issues when you want to take into account what your replacement flooring is. If you're going tile, you've got ceramic, you've got porcelain. The larger the ceramic tile, the more likely it is to crack, just because of inflection points. So a waterproofing vinyl flooring is actually probably better.
But is there ever any issue with the weight on some of those floors that are not on a slab?
There could be, but I mean, ceramic tile is cheap and it's not as heavy as you think. Like, your floors are rated for 40 pounds per square foot. So the tile is not going to come close to getting you to a weight threshold, and then you standing on a tile isn't. What's going to happen is just through the natural flex of the subflooring and the trusses, that's where tiles start cracking. That's why if you look at it like bathrooms in 100-year-old homes have the subway tiles, which are really, really small, versus the 16-inch to 24-inch.
Is that because they're tiny and weightless?
Well, it's because they're tiny and they're not going to crack.
Oh, got it. Because they're tiny.
Yeah. Subway tiles are probably like inches big, but yeah, I mean, like you get
the same reason why when they do concrete, they got to put those joints in there.
Yeah,
so
for shrinkage cracks.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where you're up against with tile flooring in these older homes. That's why I don't recommend tile flooring in the older homes. I recommend a vinyl, and you've got a bunch of vinyl products now that look like tile, that look like wood. I mean, they've come a long way.
So, what does the vinyl expand?
It very, very little will expand or contract.
Okay.
They still recommend there be an expansion joint around the edges for relief. But if I could really quickly speak to what he just spoke about, was that one thing with vinyl is it's a floating floor. So it does allow for the inflections as you were speaking about. So it's a very forgiving in that sense as well.
So does it need underlayment?
Some require, some do not. It comes
What's the difference? How do you know if you do?
Well, of course, instructions, and if you're a DIYer, then you would definitely want to read your instructions, as we do as installers. But some do not, some do, and they also come with their own padding on the back.
So I know maybe this is the cheaper vinyl, but like I've walked in some properties when I have heels on and just that weird clicky echo.
Yes.
You know, you're like, oh, they didn't put underlayment under this.
Right.
It's so annoying. All right, well, this is Tampa Home Talk. We'll talk a little bit more about vinyl flooring when we come back, and laminate and some different flooring types. If you got a question, or maybe you got a flooring in your home and you got some questions about that, or you want more information, just call or text us at 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775. We're going to take a quick break here on Tampa Home Talk, and we'll be back with Mr. Vernon right after this break, so stick around.
Well, good morning and welcome back. We're here at Tampa Home Talk. We're asking the tough questions to. It is
Silly
finished.
questions,
It is finished.
I did not think that vinyl expanded or shrank. I did not.
It's a space-age polymer. It does all of that stuff.
I guess that's from the engineering perspective. Yes, I
can
can understand.
So can vinyl flooring shrink, and if so, how much? Does it create gaps or bumps in the flooring and things of that nature?
It can expand and shrink. It's ever so minute, and so that your should have some expansion, contraction, gaps, or not gaps, but allowability on the edges, and then your trims will cover that. As far as
what if you don't leave it?
Then you will have issues. It will buckle. It will do a lot of things. It'll fail, as we call in the industry. But as far as gaps, some people do not install them correctly, so they'll break the locking systems. And so in doing that, when you walk on the floor, it would eventually come apart and gap because it is a locking system. There are different locking systems out there. I won't plug it, but there's some great ones out there. As far as installation, that's the biggest part of any flooring.
So what about this question? Because someone wants to know, can you put a refrigerator on a vinyl plank flooring?
Good question. There are some, we were speaking to the polymers, and there's WPC and there's SCPC. There's different ones. What we call the rigid core, which is very, very dense vinyl. So that allows up to, I believe it's 1,800 PSI per square inch. So it doesn't dent in that sense. So yes, you can put a refrigerator on it. Is
there anything that you should not put on these floors?
Anything you
like
do.
Like heavy safes and I don't know. Yeah. I'm just thinking.
1,800 PSI is, like we're talking about 40 pounds per square foot for a tile. Now, you got to multiply that by 144 to get to PSI land.
Okay, so you're saying there's nothing too heavy?
Well, I mean, there's always things too heavy, but I mean, if you can get 1,800 PSI vinyl flooring, that's going to be that your wood flooring would crack before you'd exceed that.
Yeah, and so as far as anything to put on it, anything you do with flooring, period, you want to distribute the weight correctly. And you also we always suggest you protect your flooring. Put felt pads on all your chairs and your, anything.
Do people really do that? Because like if you're sitting on it, like you're sitting on the couch and you got those felt things in the bottom, and come home or the kids like bounce or pounce on it like they do, the whole couch would move if you got those things under it.
Yeah, it depends on which type you use as well. A lot of times, because we move the furniture, as well, so we will put it on when we put the furniture back for them if they ask, or if they have it available. Let's put it that way. So, but yeah, they have the cups that you can use, the rubber cups and things of that nature as well. So you want to distribute your weight. You try not to hit seams or butt ends, and so it's amazing products. I mean, it's come so far. There also is what's called a ceramic bead for scratch resistance, and I know you'll probably get into that later. But it's such an awesome product. We sell a lot of it. We install a lot of it, and it's really taking the place of woods and tiles, etc.
What is the difference between like a vinyl and a laminate?
Okay, so vinyl is, as he spoke to, is it's a synthetic.
It's plastic.
It's vinyl, yeah.
It's vinyl.
Okay, vinyl.
Yeah, so it's a vinyl. It's and then there's what's called a WPC, which is a wood polymer composite. There's some that they put stone into the core, and then there's some that's just flat out rigid core, hardcore vinyl. But to answer your question, what was it again? Sorry.
The difference between like vinyl and laminate.
Okay, yeah. So my point to that is that the vinyl's vinyl and laminate is basically wood. It's just, I hate to use the term sawdust, but it's basically compacted wood.
Glued
That's
together.
the cheap stuff that you see.
Yeah. Well, again, now there's waterproof vinyls as well. And again, laminates. Laminate had to step up their game. So they, to me, look more and feel more like real wood floor. And there's some waterproof laminates out there.
How long did most of those last?
Oh, man. I mean, they're hard to wear out because of the finishes they put on them nowadays. They're hard to wear out. Like any floor.
I think that's what I had. I don't even know. I don't know the difference. They look the same to me.
Yeah, in the early stages, they're not the best. And it depends on how thick they are, and all those things you take into consideration.
Yeah, vinyls. Well, not vinyl. The laminate, the older style of laminate, the cheap stuff. That's the stuff you put your fridge on.
But
you
I
see
didn't
the
get the
indentations.
cheap stuff. It wasn't even cheap.
Where did you?
Still, I don't know.
If you buy it from certain places, everything they sell is the cheap stuff.
Apparently,
Good
I
point.
didn't have the right stuff. I mean, it lasted for a long time, but then it just wasn't good. And I was
Yeah,
like, eh.
back when you could. I mean, your dog could drool on your floor and it would just swell up and be done with the laminates.
Yeah, it wasn't quite like that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was. I should just bring you a piece of it, Leo, and go, what is this?
We'll examine it.
What did I put in my house that is now ripped out?
We'll have to look at it under a microscope.
All right, so let's change gears from the freaking laminate to the vinyl. Yeah. What about the pet-proof carpet? Because I'm told you guys have some pet-proof carpet.
We do. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. The pet-proof carpet, you'll want to get the pet-proof pad with that as well, because that's it helps extend the warranty in some cases.
All right, so talk about pet-proof, right? We talk about pets. You think, okay, like you say, the accident-prone spots, the doggies that have their spot where they always pee.
Well,
right?
that's when you got to spray it with that enzyme stuff that actually eats. You have to think a dog's nose is millions of times stronger than ours, so it wants to go in the same place over and over again. So you have to hit it with that enzyme stuff that kills the enzyme, so it doesn't know it's gone there before.
So tell me about the carpet.
Yeah, so now there's a lot of carpets out there that are what's called a solution dyed. And the way to explain that is that they were normally just topically or dyed, if you would, the yarn. So it wasn't all the way through. And so if you take a beet, it's red on the outside, white on the inside. That's the way it used to be dyed. Now you can dye it completely through, and it's like a carrot. It's orange all the way through. So now that's solution dyed. That stuff is amazing. So it pretty much resists anything.
Okay, so the dog can have an accident on the floor and it comes up very easily?
Correct. Yes.
And there's no smell or stain?
There will not be a stain. Again, everything is maintenance. Everything is maintenance. Preventive maintenance on anything. There even now, so a lot of folks don't know this, is that companies require the way you clean your carpet and how many times you clean your carpet, and it really reflects on your warranty.
So what is the suggested way?
Well, it depends on the carpet and the fiber and et cetera, et cetera. There's steam cleaning, there's hot water, there's et cetera. And it's usually once a year by a reputable company, and you want to save those receipts as well.
And for the manufacturer, they would
Correct.
require that? Okay.
Yes.
So what is your suggestion in terms of like if someone has pets, if they know they've had accidents and they're changing it because they have flooring there they don't like, and in high traffic areas, because I've seen some of those things wear, like bamboo wears. Mm-hmm. Like they don't really sell a lot of bamboo now, do they? Because of the way it wears.
Yeah.
You could literally see the traffic patterns.
I mean, the whole point of
properties.
bamboo is it's a soft wood. I mean, bears eat it, things of that nature. They make chopsticks out of it. It's a soft wood that's not meant to last.
Yeah, it definitely did not last.
What's funny is that it is, and this is no way, don't take it wrong, it's not a wood, it's grass.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a
I guess
grass.
you're technically
It grows
right
so
about that.
fast, it is a grass.
It's
That is
considered to
true.
be a grass, and
It takes a lot of water, too, to grow.
It's very unforgiving. It's very unforgiving because of the way they make it and the finish they put on it. It scratches and it leaves a milky white scratch. Plus, water, it buckles and cups and all that. I refuse to install it.
So you probably don't sell any bamboo.
I don't.
So what about, so if you have pets, right, like dogs, and you're worried about high traffic areas, which you, even on wood, you would have this problem with a lot of the wood. What's your suggestion? Like what kind of floor would you recommend if someone says, I've got dogs, I've got kids, I've got high traffic areas, and I need flooring that's going to last?
Yes, of course. I mean, vinyl, hands down. Vinyl or laminate. The new laminates are good. They're not nothing to run from. In fact, they'll probably make a comeback. Vinyl or laminate. Wood is, now we do have what I always suggest as well. If you absolutely have to have wood, is a distressed wood. Because the Sharpie's your best friend. You scratch it or dent it or whatever, you take a Sharpie and
the distressed wood's got a lot of colors in it, so nothing really shows or pops.
Yeah, not so much only that is that it's beat up already. So, you can scratch it or dent it and just take a Sharpie and blend it in real easy and move on.
Well, there's special wood Sharpies that actually have the color of the wood.
Yeah.
So
Of
not
course.
just not
Not
just
just a
a
black
big
Sharpie.
I've seen that, but it makes, I don't know. It looks good and it looks okay, especially like if you have the beachy theme going, but it's like buying jeans with holes in them already.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
People
that's
pay.
just,
Yeah, well, they spend a lot of money on those jeans.
They do,
They
but
do.
I don't know.
It's decor.
There's something about buying a pair of jeans with all the holes in it already.
Yeah, it's decor. I've been forced to be somewhat of an interior designer in my time. So, we have to pick wood for them because they just won't do it.
Oh, wow. All right. So when we come back, let's talk about when a homeowner should know that it's time to replace those floors.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that when we come back after the break. If you'd like to connect with Mr. Vernon at It Is Finished, sell all kinds of flooring, just call or text us at 813-377-2775. Call or text 813-377-2775, 813-377-2775. This is Tampa Home Talk, and we will be back right after this break. So stick around.
Welcome home. We're back with Tampa Home Talk. I'm Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection. I don't think I announced who I was with and from.
Well, you probably should do that.
Yeah, I did that.
Some of our listeners are regular, but that might be the first time they've ever listened to Tampa Home Talk, Leo.
Yeah, so we're here. We're talking all about flooring, but now you want to talk about statistics again?
No. I was just looking at a couple things from the first hour, and I'm rearranging my whole outline. But with the question that I asked Mr. Vernon before we took a break was, how would a homeowner know that it's the right time to change or replace their flooring? Or
It's no time better than now.
No. Obviously, some of those floors are so hardy. I mean, I've seen stuff built in the 70s that's still in great condition, but aesthetically, people are done with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Aesthetics are a major issue for a lot of folks. And, of course, it's a big investment, so you have to make sure you get the product that's and people will stand behind it. And so the time to know is when it's wearing to the point to where in the past, you could resand and finish a floor if it were a wood floor.
How many times can you do that?
It depends on the product. So engineered floor, there's solid wood floors and there's engineered floors. Mm-hmm. So what they did with that is that we happen to have an engineer here with us today.
What about the solid wood floors like in the original bungalows?
Oh, like the basketball court floors, we call them, and the church floors? Those things
Where
last.
it goes like this?
Yeah, those things. Those floors actually tongue and
solid
groove,
wood, right?
And there's tongue and groove, which means that they snap together, and they're solid, and they're great. They're like petrified wood.
So how many times can they be refinished?
One of those you can refinish multiple times.
5, 6, 7,
Oh yeah, sure.
10.
It depends on the sander, of course. The
Yeah.
guys who's doing the sanding.
It's a skilled trade, and unfortunately, on a 100-year-old wood floor, the skill level of people who know how to do it go down every generation.
I would be afraid literally to refer someone in that because we're really picky on who we refer. And
Well, me too.
If somebody messes up on someone's 100-year-old floor,
You got to go raid a basketball court.
it's not an easy thing to fix.
Yeah,
That's
I
expensive.
don't even refer. I just give a number, say here it is. I'm
Yeah.
not referring.
So what's a key indicator that a homeowner it's time to replace their floor?
Yeah, so on the wood floors, you can just a lot of them you can sand and finish because the wear layer is gone or the dog has scratched it to pieces. So then you have the engineered flooring, which is it's engineered. So it's basically when you do a solid floor, it's the solid wood over a monolithic slab. You would use a plywood. So what they did was they strengthened the process. They put a wear layer of real wood over plywood, and they made an engineered floor. And so, yeah go ahead.
No, they're just
Yeah,
listening.
so you can sand that depending on the wear layer they put on it. Some there's different methods. They slice it or they peel it. They actually peel the log. So it's very, very thin. So you'll burn right through to the plywood, if you will.
Peel the log.
Yeah, so it's sliced, sawn, and peeled, and it gives a different look in each one. So as far as wear, you want to watch for that. You want to watch for application if you're somebody, like you said, you have new babies in the house, or if you have dogs, or there's more kids, or you're by the pool, all those kind of things. Or if you're just moving in a new house, you want to change it.
The average home, I think a lot of the average home right now size is in the neighborhood of 2,300 square feet. So it's not, there's obviously stuff bigger and smaller. So what can someone expect to spend in a house that size?
Great question. So there's a lot of variables, but I'll try to give you the best answer I can. The variables would be what's being taken up. If it's a floor that's affixed, like a tile or a glued down flooring.
Or the tongue and groove old wood floor?
Yeah, or nailed down, which normally you wouldn't take that out. A nailed down.
Is there
floor.
still a subfloor under that? I guess there would have to be, yeah?
It depends on on a 100-year-old house.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be subflooring under the basketball court flooring.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a couple applications. You're talking about with the older houses, you have the floor joist, which goes over a 45-degree angle 1x6. And then you have the slabs, which would be a plywood with the solid floor. We have taken those up because I've had people who have got too much money. And just recently, in fact, love them to pieces, don't get me wrong, but they had us redo their multi-million-dollar home just because of the height difference in 2 rooms.
What do you mean?
The whole floor.
Wasn't level?
Right. So they wanted to put wood in these other 2 rooms, but the house was built in a way to where I had to go over the whole floor in order to put in what they wanted. So I went over a beautiful basketball floor I did. It was horrible. It was hurtful.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen that sometimes where people are renovating properties and they pull up whatever's there and you have these beautiful floors underneath. I mean, hence the stuff built in the 50s, right? I can't tell you how many people put
the terrazzo.
they put
really
carpet
nice
over the terrazzo, and that's like, it's a thing now to have it refinished.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I have friends who do it. So we come in and we'll rip the floor out so they can redo the terrazzo.
What I've seen a lot of...
We did that in our house before it was cool. We had, not the house we're in now, but the one we had before, there was carpet in it, and it was old, and we ripped the carpet up, and there was just piles of sand.
Oh, yeah.
And the carpet was so heavy. It took several people to get it out, and then those holes, they were like over $5 a hole to fill.
For the tack strip.
Yeah, where the tack strips were. But they were so beautiful when they were done. It took so many coats, and it still wasn't as nice as I would want it. But they have to sand that with a diamond buffer that actually has chips of diamonds in it to do it right.
Sure.
And it's about a 4 or 5 step process, I think, to redo it. But it shines like glass, and it's beautiful when it's redone.
It is. It's nice and cool to the touch, which you need during the hot summer months.
Yeah, correct. So as far as that, then you could either, cost depends on if we're taking up floor or not taking up floor, if we're going to put in new base, etc. But the basic cost is probably going to be, $7 to $10 a foot installed.
So what does that work out to be? Because, I mean, are people doing the whole house, or are you still seeing some carpet in the bedroom?
They are. So you're talking about a whole house is going to cost you anywhere from $16 to $20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It makes sense. And how much can someone save if they remove the old floors themselves?
Yeah, so if you're going to remove a floor that's fixed or adhered to the floor, you'll save yourself a lot of money, but you will never do it because it's
a lot of work, painful. And you're not used to it.
Right. There's $40,000 machines that you ride on that will scrape it down to the concrete. Anybody can pop tile. Taking up the thin set is the hard part.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So what do you do with an expense that big? Does your company have financing, or how does that work?
We do have financing. We go through a couple different financiers. So that you can get that on the website as well. You can apply right on the website for financing.
Okay. And then so do you have more than one location, or do you have a showroom, or?
Good question. So what we did was we had 3 locations. So we put everything under a 6,000 foot warehouse now. So we keep probably 60 rolls of carpet in stock. We keep, 40 to 50 pallets of the vinyls. Some wood. I'd say 60% of our showroom is vinyl.
So where is your showroom?
We are at 15445 North Nebraska, basically the corner of Barris and Nebraska.
Okay.
In Tampa, or Lutz. It's actually still Lutz.
Yeah, I know. The boundary lines get a little weird, all around.
Yeah, it's right there.
So, do you have any specials going on that you could give to our listeners to take advantage of?
Sure. Everyone's taking advantage of right now is that we have it's a $699 for 3 rooms of carpet and pad installed. That
seems really affordable.
It is very affordable.
Oh, Pat's got a question.
Yes.
You were just talking earlier about terrazzo floors. We just had a neighbor of ours that just moved into an older home. The people died, so they had the terrazzo floor. It's an old West Tampa type home, and they put down tile on top of that terrazzo.
Ugh.
How would you adhere to that? And don't you think terrazzo would have been better than the tile?
1,000%. Terrazzo is much harder, much more smoother surface, way less maintenance.
Hardier. It's hardier, more durable. It's so expensive. Actually, no one even installs it anymore.
Yeah, and it's kind of vogue, if you ask me. It's kind of cool. People, there are people and that will take up everything just to redo that. But more direct to your question, Pat, is that you would probably want to braid that so that the thin set will adhere, and then of course you would do your tile.
Wow, so that's an additional expense to kind of like scratch that terrazzo.
Correct, yeah. You want to braid it so it would have something to stick to, because even the best of glues and adhesives, if you have too smooth of a surface, it's going to make it difficult to stick to.
I talk those people out of that, but they didn't want to listen.
Yeah, sometimes when we're doing tile installs, we recommend, for slab on grade, we recommend that they scar the concrete to just give it something for the.
That would hurt my soul to see scarring on terrazzo floors.
Yeah. I said for concrete. I did not say terrazzo flooring.
I know, but that's what Pat was talking about.
Yeah, terrazzo basically is a coating. It is a coating placed over your concrete. So waterproofing.
Yeah,
it's stone though. It's like a bunch of crushed stone, and
it's like pool. It's basically like a pool shell covering, if you think about it on that level.
Yeah, and to your term, you scarify it. You really just micro braid it. Yeah. What's really cool about the terrazzo, anyway, so in airports, that's where they pour that and then they grind it to make it look like it looks. So all those graphics and stuff they use.
Tampa International has terrazzo. I've noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks good.
It looks great.
It's got a clean, sleek look, especially the lighter colors.
Maintenance, yeah.
Looks really, really good, and it's easy to clean once you keep it.
The only downside is when you have your normal house settling that happens over time, terrazzo cracks.
So like solid? I've never seen solid cracked terrazzo.
I've seen cracked terrazzo a
I'm
lot.
sure you have. But.
Yeah, it just happens when you have some building settlement, and that's why people stopped using it. Besides, it's cost prohibitive. It shows cracks. That's the downside.
So you put the joints in it, right? Like the concrete, like the driveways, and
it doesn't.
Here in Florida, we're on sand, so everything's settling.
Yeah. So, what advice do you have for a listener that is considering changing their flooring right now?
We will. What I would do is educate yourself, and so I tell people all the time, even if you don't purchase from us, I'd be happy to educate you on anything and everything. Bring the questions. We're not afraid of any of them.
So what should they be asking?
As you were just speaking about earlier, is durability, application. Where are you using it? What are you using it for?
What's your house like?
Yeah, is it a
Tell me about your home life.
Are there allergies in the house? It's a big deal right now, especially Florida. I didn't have allergies until I moved to Florida.
We've heard that before, and I know Pat was just talking about allergies in the last show. He was talking about the oaks, and one of those properties was just driving his allergies nuts.
Yeah. So, but we do have carpet that is allergenic free. Yeah, we have what's called an aero carpet that has its own backing. It will not buckle. It will not. It does not wrinkle. It is hyperallergenic, so it's really super for kids and people who have allergies. In fact, we had a lady just yesterday. She's redoing the house because of her son. So hyperallergenic.
Love it. Well, thanks for your time today on Tampa Home Talk. We have Vernon in on. He is with It Is Finished, and they have flooring showroom right there on Nebraska Avenue in North Tampa. Lutz, technically. It's where the boundary lines get all weird. And if you want to get connected with Verna, you can just call or text us at 813-377-2775. We'll be happy to get you connected so we can answer all of your questions. 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. We'll be back right after this break. And welcome back.
Yeah, welcome home.
This is Tampa Home Talk. We're glad you're here. Thanks so much for joining us with Mr. Vernon. He did a great job covering flooring. You can tell he's done it his whole life, huh?
Yeah, no, that was amazing. I learned a lot. Actually learned a lot during his segment.
So a couple things that I just wanted to chat about that we kind of ran out of time for hour number one is some of the things that builders are seeing top shortage of in May. Remember we were talking about the refrigerators and all that stuff? It's number one at the top of the list at 95%. And they're saying it's a serious shortage of appliances. Framing and lumber came in at number 2 on the list.
That makes sense. I'm not surprised. And then roof board, number 3.
No, oriented strand board. What is that?
Roof
OSB?
board.
Is
That's
that
the
roof
stuff
board?
in the attic. When you look up, that's what you see. When you look at the side of your house, behind on second floor when it's wood framed, that's the stuff that goes on the outside of it.
Plywood had its own spot.
Yeah, wait till hurricane season hits.
Yeah. Windows and doors, number 5.
Nice.
Trusses. Isn't that just wood?
There's different kind of wood. Well,
Okay.
trusses have like metal with the wood.
Okay. Copper wiring. That's an interesting one I wasn't expecting.
Gold futures are
Came in
up.
at number 7.
I wonder if you can wire your house in Dogecoin.
Probably not. Plumbing fixtures and fittings were up.
And then we had vinyl siding and millwork. Millwork would be like, what is millwork? I would say like is that cabinetry? No, cabinets is a different category.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of what millwork.
I'm thinking about that myself because I'm reading like vinyl siding, millwork, gypsum wallboard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking we probably don't use it a lot, but maybe it's used somewhere behind
what
the
this thing
scenes.
says, what's the different thing? It's 2 statistics here. There's something that says a percent and then seriousness.
Top shortage reported. So the key reason for shortage is a computer chip, which most require now. That's what it's saying. I don't understand it, but I'm sure it's in here. It also says that there's a obvious disruption in supply chain from COVID and tariffs on Canadian lumber for the pandemic slowdown in the U.S.
So millwork, in case anyone was curious, is wood made in a mill.
No.
Yes. It's doors, molding, trim, flooring, wood paneling,
so like little
molding.
Spindles in your stairs.
Yeah, that's all millwork. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's the stuff that I was kind of right with the cabinet. It's the stuff all around the cabinet.
Whatever. It's little woodworking things.
Yeah, that's made in a mill.
Okay.
It's millworked.
All right, steel for lightweight framing is on the list. HVAC equipment, hardwood flooring, which our last guest had some. Roofing materials. Surprised how far down that is.
Me too, especially since we do a lot of roof projects, and all of them are talking about the shortage of roofing supplies. It's actually not necessarily the shingles. It's the nails. We need extra nails in Florida to both the underlayment and to the roofing material itself. So the fastening hardware is actually what is actually harder to come by. Not necessarily the shingles. I mean, if you want an odd color shingle you used to be able to get, that's where you're not going to find those. But I mean, it's the material themselves. I've had to write letters for certain municipalities where roofers can't use what the Florida Building Code says they should be using in a salt spray area. They just can't get it.
So what do they do? Just find an alternative and
find an alternative.
You as the engineer have to say yes, this alternative is okay?
Well, it's funny in that the Florida Building Code is usually written in you can use this or this, and building departments just don't pay attention to the or and what comes next. So we have to write a letter quoting the Florida Building Code saying there's an or here and this is what they want to use.
And let's face it, a lot of those people are not as qualified as they used to be. The younger generation and the skilled labor, including the knowledge base that would approve that kind of stuff, is a lot different than it used to be.
Right.
So, all right, last thing I want to touch on is the multi-generational housing. Remember we mentioned that?
Yeah, but isn't like if I had a family and kids, that's 2 generations, that's multi-generation?
Yes, I guess technically it is, but they're talking about like when you have a grandparent or like an older adult or, that those type of three generations. Yeah, living together. So they're saying 1 in 5 U.S. homes is a multi-generational home of some sort. And so they use the analogy that this family in New York had a 1,200 square foot home and basically renovated it, was 2,300 square feet. Mom moved in after she had a stroke. And so the advantages, of course, of having that multi-gen home is she can care for mom. Mom can also kind of help watch the kids, which were, 9 and 5. It's about right. So they're not, you don't want to leave them totally alone, but that's not exactly babies, right? And they're saying that once the pandemic hit, a lot of people started to feel cramped. We got a lot of that. Once people were in lockdown, they're like, yeah, this small place just does not do it anymore. And so they're saying that the number of multi-generational family homes have just continued to increase year after year. But before COVID started, they're saying it was like 11 to 12%. And then in the first 3 months of the pandemic, it was already 15%, according to the National Association of Realtors analysis they did. The association, they based a survey on 8,000 people who bought a home between April and June and found the top reasons for buying that multi-gen home was for taking care of aging parents. So that's really aging parents, right? We've said that a lot. So Jessica Lautz, the vice president and demographics for the research team over there at the National Association of Realtors, said taking care of aging parents and spending more time with them and relatives was a top priority for multi-generational home buyers. And in 2016, 64 million people, or 20% of the whole U.S. population, with multi-generational housings under one roof. There was a Pew Research Center analysis of census data that said this number was the highest it's been since 1950, when 3 generations, technically the multi-gen, right, were living under one roof. Was 21% of all households. And the other thing, too, that this mentioned was adult kids coming home. And also people can actually move into their dream home. And I saw this myself on more than one occasion this year already. Like literally people buying substantially bigger homes. So like a 5,000 square foot, 6-bedroom home where each person can have their own space to watch TV, yet still hang out together. And the other thing too is it was keeping people company where they don't feel isolated. So they're talking about that as well. And then the last thing this talks about, which I find extremely fascinating myself, is the rise in multi-generational living can be attributed to racial and ethnic diversity in the U.S. population, according to this Pew research. And they're saying among Asian living was 29% of multi-generational housing. We see that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Europe and other cultures. Among Hispanics and Blacks in 2016 was 27% and 26% respectively, while Caucasian or white folks was 16% had multi-generational living. Just thought it was really fascinating. And the last final thing is seniors suffering from depression and isolation get to see their families more. So just want to talk about that because we do see that. And I had one where we sold 4 houses and they all moved in together into one.
That's awesome.
But it was rental properties and stuff too. All right. This is Tampa Home Talk. We're out of time. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. Love where you live or we'll fix it. Welcome home.